Well, here we are, the final month of 2025.
Can you believe it is December, Pete?
I can feel the cold. Yeah, I believe it's December, maybe January too.
And we've had a great year on commUNITY.
I'm Pete Gallivan.
I'm Claudine Ewing. As you know, on commUNITY, we bring the stories that represent the community, stories that you like to see.
Yeah, so we are going to rerun the tape and roll some of our favorite stories of the past year. Another memorable night as the Goo Goo Dolls came home to help feed more. Two amazing shows and an amazing venue. One that's celebrating a milestone year. 2 decades since Buffalo promoters Artie Quitchoff and Donnie Kutzbach took a huge leap of faith.
It was overwhelming. It was overwhelming, and it's hard to imagine. 20 years sometimes feels really fast, but at the beginning it was slow and it was scary.
Scary because while the building had great bones, they discovered what seemed like an endless parade of projects and repairs that needed to be done. Everything from the roof to the basement, audio to the plumbing, and now countless shows, events, and artists later, they look back with gratitude.
The fact that we've been able to achieve what we really hoped for in 2005 and 20 years later is I think it's pretty special.
Gratitude to the music lovers who have come out and the bands who put themselves out there, many before they hit big.
The Jonas Brothers, I remember Donnie saying, man, the Jonas Brothers, they're really good. They were the opening act.
Yeah. And a big part of what makes it special is what made it special. The long storied history of the place. It was the town casino from the 40s to the 60s, hosting musical greats from Frank Sinatra to John Coltrane, Nat King Cole to Les Paul, and attracting the famous and infamous. Legend has it, Al Capone had gambling rooms down here in the basement. But it's that spirit and the feel of the room that endears itself to legendary musicians of today, like Mike Ness of Social Distortion, and singer, writer, and actor Henry Rollins.
It's small, it's hot, it's intimate, it's loud, and it's everything you would want in a rock and roll show. So
when you're standing here on the stage, you can look and you can see the person's face in the very back row. There's not a lot of rooms you can do that in.
I always found the way the stage relates to the audience very unique. And when I walked out there for sound check, I went, wow, this will be interesting. There's just something about it.
But recapturing that feel was no easy task. Over the years, the building had changed ownership several times. It was Studio Arena, then UB's Pfeiffer Theater, and finally the Sphere. And on top of all of that, it was rumored to be haunted.
It's the kind of thing where things happen here you can't always explain, and we sort of just let it go and say, yeah, that happens here sometimes.
They started by promoting shows at the Sphere, but were still not sure about buying the place. That is, until one artist in particular convinced them.
We had Patti Smith here, and then Patti afterwards. Dottie and I are both like, our 18-year-old selves sitting there like, oh my God, what do we say? It's Patti Smith. And then she starts telling us about the spirits in the room and how we needed to preserve the room and we needed to take over. And she basically willed us taking over the room because she was like, you guys need to preserve this club. You need to preserve this room. Wow. And we were both like sitting there like, oh, okay.
Okay, Patti Smith.
Okay, Patti Smith.
Congratulations. And it's your love of culture and putting on shows that kept you there for 20 years.
They've excelled in basketball and soccer, especially in Toronto, but expect to see former NBA players Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady and soccer great Josie Altidore at more Bills games.
This was a dream.
They're part of the 10 limited partners, non-controlling minority interest owners of the Bills. It's historic. Never have the Bills done this.
For Tracy, I know you always talked about this being a dream, but what kind of voice do you want to have with this new partnership, especially in inspiring the next generation and people of color when it comes to sports? Because I think that's important because the players on the field look like you, but the ownership necessarily doesn't.
I think the NFL, Buffalo Bills, everybody has done a really great job, especially the NFL, of partnering with organizations that are dedicated to promoting diversity and inclusion in sports. And shout out to the Buffalo Bills and Terry Pagula and his family for allowing us this opportunity because this is a big deal. I mean, although, you know, it's cool that we're investing in the Buffalo Bills, it's cool, you know, investing in NFL franchise, but this is inspiring to so many people that look like us because of, you know, the past history and what's been said in media and all that stuff about, you know, diversity, inclusion, and sports ownership.
Part of all this, Claudine, you mentioned obviously the representation of us as players, right? And you know, being in the ownership group, us as players playing for these organizations. But it's also, you know, a guy that we haven't mentioned yet. His name is Derek Higgins, who helped kind of curate this opportunity.
I want to give a shout out to Venus and Serena. They kind of, you know, broke that barrier, you know, for tennis athletes. And I think now, full circle, we're getting that, you know, that opportunity as male Black athletes that are from a different sport.
Just as a great example and an inspiration for, you know, athletes or whoever, folks that look like us that wants to get involved in ownership and sporting franchises. It's possible, but it's not just about how you go and about your career and what you do from a performance standpoint. It's how you carry yourself throughout your career, how professional you are, right? The integrity that you carry.
You know, the actions that you do off or court or field are going to be followed just as closely. So to have an eye on that, and that's for all the younger professionals and entrepreneurs out there that are looking to do similar things.
Doing things the right way means something down the line, okay? Because when you walk away from the sport, or all of these opportunities, yeah, you may have a lot of money in your pocket, but when you want to move forward and join organizations like this, they look at the other side of that also.
In its earliest days, the village of Black Rock was a bustling place.
Shipyards for sure. There were storehouses, warehouses, starch mills, lumber yards were big, barrel making was big. And
one of the biggest personalities at the time was a mover and shaker named Peter Porter.
Peter Buell Porter was an Erie Canal commissioner, and he was obviously an advocate for having Black Rock being the western terminus of the Erie Canal.
Black Rock Historical Society Director William Butler says Porter laid out a convincing argument, including the fact that Black Rock had something that Buffalo didn't have at the time, thanks to the geological formation that gave the village its name.
Black Rock gets its name from the Black Rock that provided that safe harbor.
So when it came time to lobby for the western terminus, Peter Porter went after it hard because he knew that it would mean big things for whatever community controlled it. That town would be the economic gateway for a large part of the country.
Black Rock, it looked like might be the western terminus.
And this historic marker on Amherst Street reflects that, the result of a political ping pong match. In 1821, Governor DeWitt Clinton and the Canal Commission designated Buffalo as the terminus. 2 years later, the political climate changed and Clinton was no longer governor. The Canal Commission changed as well, and in 1823, gave the designation to Black Rock. 2 years later, Clinton was reelected and restored the western terminus to Buffalo, leaving Black Rock to only wonder what might have been.
It would definitely be much larger. We don't have the passive waterfront that we have now that we can enjoy for recreational purposes, but definitely more industry here for sure.
And it'd be Black Rock State University now rather than Buff State University.
Right. And the Black Rock Bills and Sabres, too.
Still to come on Community, the future of an inner city arts institution and remembering those who made a difference in Buffalo.
Congratulations to the Jesse Ketchum Award winners in Buffalo. Joyce Asani, School 81, first place. Claire Sheehan, City Honors, second place. Madia Kadir, Houghton Academy, third place. The awards are given to 8th grade students who earned the highest grades in English language arts, social studies, mathematics, and science. Each winner receives a cash prize and a medal. For more than 150 years, Jesse Ketchum medals have been awarded to 8th grade students with the highest GPA. The award honors the legacy of Jesse Ketchum. He is credited with donating land and buildings to establish the first teacher training center in Buffalo. It's not every day a kid gets to sit at the table and have lunch with the Buffalo Bills player. At Parker Academy's summer program, that was on the menu. Cornerback Christian Benford was at the table and even helping the kids. At the other end of the room was a table full of Under Armour backpacks that were stuffed with school supplies.
Making an impact in somebody else's life, I feel that's bigger than money.
And he was genuinely involved and taking in the moment.
I'm saying, I feel like a lot of times your job or other things can make you forget about the little things that really matter, that truly matter. And the world that we live in, I know it's kind of corrupt a little bit, you know, well, more than a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And the little things like that, a smile, just a simple thing, a book bag, a filled book bag, it means a lot.
At the African American Cultural Center, the beat never really stops. But it hits a little different because for the first time in decades, these dancers are performing on a brand new floor inside a building brought back to life. The Cultural Center is celebrating the completion of phase 1 of a long-awaited $1 million renovation.
And I know this building, this center means to my community. I played in these streets. I grew up on Rockland. This is my hood. And I knew that I had to be a part of it.
The first phase also added new windows and doors, upgraded restrooms, and modernized the lobby, offices, and core systems that keep the place running.
So I'm emotional because I'm the person that got to do it, the people, the team, how hard they worked.
The renovation began earlier this year, but like most major repairs to historic East Side buildings, the price tag didn't just tell the whole story.
It has been an extensive project, but as we know, $1 million may sound like a lot of money, but when you're in construction and building, it is just a little piece of the pie.
Still, this milestone opens the doors again to the community it serves. For many on the East Side, this cultural center isn't just a building.
People have come here since the 1950s. This place served them when they were in their youth, adulthood, some of the things they did here, the education, the dancing, drumming, just the relationships that they built. We need that. All people need that, and we need to build community. And so that's what we wanted to bring back to this area.
And the plans don't stop here. Phase 2 is a full renovation of the historic Paul Robeson Theater, with a sensory room to support people dealing with trauma. Phase 3 is a community expansion building out of the land behind the center to grow programming for the next generation.
For us to just to actually see this happen, this organization here has been promised so many times that this building was going to be repaired, that it was going to be renovated, and it never happened. So for it to actually happen, this is a major win for the community.
Gary White made an impact on Western New York's fashion industry for decades, operating a custom hat shop on Broadway.
Started out many years ago as a young kid and worked my way up from a salesman to a buyer of a very prominent store here in Buffalo. And while I was buying for this particular store, the hat department was my favorite area to work in. So I found a man in Boston, Massachusetts that was willing to train me. So I decided to commute between Buffalo and Boston to learn my craft.
But how long did your apprenticeship take?
10.5 years.
His work was seen across the country. His creations were used in movies, TV shows, and Broadway musical productions.
We did The Lost Capone with Adrian Pastar. Then we did Dick Tracy with Warren Beatty, Batman Returns.
He died in June at the age of 70.
Yeah, I've had people stopping to talk to me about him the last several weeks and expressing their condolences. And each time I get a message, I realize more like how far his reach was, which is really amazing.
Wearing a hat is more than just shading your head. Wearing a hat is part of your personality. And I'd say that because it's not only how it makes me look, but it's how it makes me feel. And I never feel better than I do wearing a Gary White custom-made hat.
And in broadcasting, a voice on local radio passed away. Mark Leitner, 23 years at WBEN, and ended his career at WNED and WBFO. An award winner, Mark Leitner was 80 years old.
Coming up, paying tribute to Shirley Chisholm in Amherst, and more music from a local singer who's on the rise.
The town of Amherst will name its main public library on John James Audubon Parkway after Shirley Chisholm, a political and civil rights trailblazer. In 1969, she became the first black woman elected to the U.S. Congress. Chisholm also ran for the Democratic nomination for president in 1972.
I am the candidate.
She was the first woman to run for the Oval Office.
Can't make it because you're a woman. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here.
The Amherst Town Board approved the name change. Chisholm was married to Assemblyman Arthur Hardwick Jr. of Williamsville.
But what is lesser known is that she was actually a resident of the town of Amherst when she was here. And so because of her national history and prominence, I think it's appropriate to have something in the town of Amherst that claims her as part of our history and us as a part of her life. A library is the perfect mix of what she stood for and fighting for underserved. Libraries are for intellectual freedom, access to information, available for everybody, and inclusivity. And throughout her congressional career and beyond, including when she lived here in the town of Amherst, Shirley Chisholm stood for fighting for people who may not have access to democratic rules or other benefits from the U.S. government.
One of her famous slogans, unbought and unbossed.
She did not take any special interest money, whether she was in the New York State Legislature or the U.S. Congress, and that I think is something that we should hold to as a gold standard for political participation.
Shirley Chisholm is buried at Forest Lawn Cemetery, where there's also a statue. It was a long time ago, 1875 to 1957. For much of that time, the Thomas Indian School was owned and run by New York State. Located on the Cattaraugus Territory, this is where children were stripped of their culture. Indigenous children couldn't speak their language. The violence and the death are documented.
Sanction ethnic cleansing is what was going here. Try to eradicate the long, proud story of the Senecas.
After the Seneca Nation president met with the governor earlier this year, the day has come.
I, Governor Kathy Hochul, apologize to the Seneca Nation of Indians and survivors and descendants from all nations who attended the Thomas Indian School.
The state recognizing the bad things that happened with a proclamation.
I want this forever enshrined, visible to the rest of the state, that this day occurred.
There are still remnants on the territory of that Thomas Indian boarding school. But when you speak with survivors, those who were actually here, you feel their pain.
Bad memories, what I went through. I started out with having my mouth washed out with soap, thrown in a cold shower for using our language. Remember, I was only 5 years old.
As for the apology,
I have so much mistrust. I've grown up not trusting the government, not trusting the non-Indians, and I have a lot of anger. I still have a lot of anger. It took away my life as a child.
The Seneca president knows this is sacred ground, and the apology helps with healing.
Reparation-wise, again, we talk about education, about the state earmarking money to come to have effect here on territory in our language programs.
The governor wants the history included in the curriculum.
Look at me, I'm as helpless as a kitten up a tree.
This is 16-year-old Sam Toe.
Just holding your hand.
Over the summer, he captured the crowd with his vocals at Sportsman's Tavern.
There's a certain type of energy when you walk into a room. I knew something was right.
Buffalo Academy for Visual and Performing Arts teachers like to showcase their students in the community. That's how Sam landed on stage with a professional band.
And it was so crazy to work with them. I was like, what?
And he has this crazy falsetto where he has so much control. For somebody his age or anybody, he He sang his first song and blew the roof off the place.
He plays sax too.
But there's just a certain star quality of somebody who can just capture a whole room. And it's not just God-given. He works harder than almost anybody in this building.
Sam Toe has a story.
My parents came from Liberia, and they came to America at different times, you know? And thankfully my mom had because I have 10 siblings.
You know the struggle.
Yeah. You know, it's always been not hard on me, but like something on my shoulder, just letting me know, hey, your parents did all this for you, you better focus up.
And music?
When you're just singing your own songs, doing your own thing, it's that freedom that I like to, feel.
What's your favorite song?
So, don't do that.
He calls himself an old soul. Al Green is his favorite.
I'm so in love with you. He got that gospel to him. He got that silk type of talking that just, ooh, you know?
Well, that wraps another year. Thank you and happy holidays.
We want to thank you so much for joining us on Community every month. If there are stories that you want to see, reach out to us. We're on social media. We're not hard to find. We will see you in 2026.